As Marco Rubio now makes it a trio of Republican possibles for the 2016 presidency, there remains a wary eye still being cast toward New Jersey, where Governor Chris Christie remains something of an enigma. Damaged goods to some, a force that will still be reckoned with by others. And Tuesday morning, the governor took another controversial step in his possible platform, calling for the reduction in Social Security benefits for high-earning seniors. This will not go quietly into the dark night of entitlements. Our guest now is commentary writer for the Washington Examiner to look into this, Jason Russell. Jason, good to see you again.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Has Chris Christie made a mistake here going after entitlements, Social Security? Granted, he seems to be doing the right thing. He says, look, if you make $80,000, $100,000, you don't need Social Security, but still, you don't mess with people's entitlements.
Well, he's proposing a very sound policy reform, and back when Social Security was created in the 1930s, we looked at the life expectancy then, and now it's 7 years higher now, but we've only raised the retirement age by 1 year since then. So he's proposing a very modest 2-year increase in the retirement age, which is very sound policy.
Is he right, though, when he says, and I quote, the wealthiest of us don't need these benefits, talking about Social Security?
Well, it's not difficult to say that people who earn $200,000+ a year probably don't need Social Security as much as people who earn $30,000 a year. Now, the trade-off there is that there is a reduced incentive for him to go, or for high earners to continue earning if they're not going to get Social Security benefits, but those benefits are phased out gradually so as to reduce that disincentive to work.
Now, as I said, you don't go after entitlements because there's always going to be pushback here. The Alliance for Retired Americans, which is a group backed by labor, came out, and here's a quote from their executive director. If the 2016 Republican presidential primary campaign becomes a contest of who can make the most cuts on seniors' backs, Republicans will need to adjust their message in a major way, unquote. How much power is there out there from groups such as these? If you try to dice into Social Security, how much strength is there in these groups that they will come back and they will make these candidates pay at the voting booth?
These groups have some power on the left, but that's mostly where their power is, on the left. When you look at people on the right, Chris Christie obviously would have to win the nomination process before going to a general election. These groups don't have as much sway, and it's questionable how much sway they would have over independent voters who are going to be important in the general election in 2016.
Is the thing that we're always missing in this is, no matter whether it's this talk or anybody else talks about entitlements, the Social Security system in America is going broke. I seem to remember that was said not too long ago, and it actually became a campaign point. No one seems to mention that anymore.
Well, it's an extremely important issue. When you look at the end of 2016, the disability insurance program is going to run out of money, and disabled Americans are going to be arbitrarily cut off of 20% of their benefits. And the House already passed a rule that said they can't just take money from the general Social Security fund without making any improvements to this system's finances. So there's going to have to be some kind of reform by the end of next year, or else people are going to really be hurting.
All right, Jason, I got about 90 seconds left here. We've so far got 3 in the Republican field, and Chris Christie is a possible. How do you think that he would stack up against the 3 that are currently in the race, and how much of his past do you think would catch up with him?
Well, what I like about Chris Christie's proposal is that he's actually come out with something new. Ted Cruz, his announcement speech didn't have anything new. It was exactly what you would have expected from a Ted Cruz announcement speech, and that's not what you want to see from someone who was polling at the time in the 4 or 5% range. Now, Chris Christie is probably around similarly as low, but he's at least trying something new. He's trying to boost his numbers, whereas Ted Cruz, he's not doing something like that at all.
Do you think he, though, has the push behind him? Again, with all that's happened to him, Bridgegate, so many other things, can he get over that, in your opinion, and maybe even the opinion of people you speak to inside the Beltway, in order to become the Republican nominee?
If it weren't such a crowded field, if we weren't expecting Jeb Bush and Scott Walker to get in, then you could see some people start to back up behind Chris Christie and give him some major support. But given that all those people are in the field, it's not 2012 anymore when everyone's looking for anyone but Mitt Romney. It's going to be tough for Chris Christie to get support in such a crowded field.
Out of the 3 who are sitting there right now, Cruz, Paul, and Rubio, in your opinion, again, and those that you speak to, who do you think has got a slight lead at this point?
I think Rand Paul has a slight lead at this point, but if you look at who has the chance in 2016 at the end of this thing, I would say Rubio has a slightly higher chance. He's more moderate, and I could see big donors get behind him in a way that could put him over the top in the nomination process and in the general election over Hillary Clinton.
Look at it this way, Jason, we're only just beginning. We got a long way to go. Jason Russell from the Washington Examiner, thanks so much for your comments. Look forward to the next time.
Thank you.
All right, Marco Rubio will no doubt seek the approval of Hispanic Americans in his run, but can he get past a couple of major items and being a flipper? Next on MidPoint.